Appeals. The board is here tonight to work together with all of you, property owners, neighbors, and architects, to continue the tradition that allows community members to work together to preserve the qualities and the unique character that make Lake Forest a special community. We recognize the personal importance of each petitioner's request. Our goal is to respect the requests of the owner while balancing the interests of the community as a whole. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Zoning Board of Appeals, the board hears all requests for variations in zoning and special use permits. The City of Lake Forest is committed to conducting open meetings. To achieve that goal, the board has adopted meeting procedures that ensure that all parties have an opportunity to speak. The procedures are detailed on the agendas available at the back of the room. The meeting is also broadcast on cable television. Speaking on behalf of the entire board and city staff, our goal is to move each petition through the review process as quickly as possible, while at the same time balancing the interests of the petitioners, neighboring property owners, and the community at large. So we'll start with an introduction of the board, starting from my right.
Louis Pickus, 2nd Ward.
Lloyd Culbertson, 4th Ward.
Richard Christoph, 4th Ward.
Bob Frankson, 1st Ward.
Jay Kennedy, 4th Ward.
Rich Plonsker, 2nd Ward.
Kevin Lewis, 3rd Ward.
And with us this evening from staff is Kathy Cerniak, Director of Community Development. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the June 23rd meeting minutes. Any comments by anybody to those minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is consideration of a request for approval of a variance from the front yard setback for a front porch addition at 996 Beverly Place. The owners and representatives are Yoshan, I'm going to try and pronounce this, Navagumwama. Hope I got that close. And Manakunyan, I sincerely apologize. At this time, I would ask if there are any declarations of conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts that anybody would like to proclaim.
Mr. Chairman, I think I should just mention that this couple is a neighbor of mine. I live directly across the street from them, but I don't believe that this should impact my partiality in this matter.
Fair enough. And now I'll swear in the parties, anybody intending to testify in this matter, if you stand, raise your right hand. If you stand, that'd be great. Do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge? Thank you. So we will move on to presentation by the petitioner. If you would stand up there and make sure the little mic button is on. It should be red.
Should be red?
Actually, yeah. And you may want to restate your name since I did such a bad job.
Roshan Navagamo. It's actually easier than it looks on paper. And Monica Yan, my wife. We have a artist rendering of it as well, which helped us, so hopefully it helps you. Okay. So this is actually a one of the modifications that we're making to the house. We've been making some modifications to the house since we bought the property, and we started with a family addition in the back and a replacement of the deck with a patio. And modifications with new windows, etc. And we finally moved to the front of the house. When we moved to the front of the house, one of the things we wanted was an open space for us, a porch. And as we looked at the various designs that came through, our architect told us, look, you've got a house that was built very close to the setback line originally. Doesn't leave you with a lot of options when you want to try and build a porch. And he said, we can do something that conforms to the setback line and the zoning regulations. And here's what that looks like. Here's what you can do with it. and here's what I would actually recommend. So we said, just give us both. We'll take a look at it. And he showed up and he looked at the option that would keep us within the setback line, and it really wasn't even a porch from our point of view. You could put a chair on it, for example, but you'd have to excuse yourself when somebody had to walk by you, kind of thing, because we like the idea of a railing. And we actually had multiple renderings of it with and without the railing, and it doesn't look as good without the railing. The railing adds, I think, a prominence to it and a character to the house, and without it just feels a little too open. And so while we could have gained a couple, like a foot, without the railing, we decided that we really liked the railing, and we liked the way it looked from the street. The curb appeal was really good with it. And so we decided, we're going to go with this rendering. And he said, so that's just the porch, the extended porch. And he said, there's also an entryway, and here's what we can do with the entryway. And when he talked about the entryway, he said, it would be really good to have a gable on it, and to give it a little bit of character and definition to the front of the house, to the entryway, to have it come out just a little bit more than the porch line itself. So even though the porch only encroaches about 1.2 feet, with the entryway, we have about 4 feet and I think 4 inches of encroachment into the setback line. And again, the way he walked us through it is you actually have those beautiful pillars in the front with the entryway, and you get this prominent effect of having that entryway with a gable on it. And really to have that effect, you do need that extra depth to it. And so we decided we really liked it. And of course, we're doing the dormers, which are within regulations, as well as the carriage garage door update as well. And we like the look of it. And of course, we're going to work with, we're working with a current a bid from a landscape company, but we're going to work with another one to soften the encroachment. So we think overall, it's a very reasonable design, and we think that the encroachment is minor, and we're obviously going to work with a landscape company to soften it. Any questions for us?
Not yet. Thank you very much for the presentation. We'll move on to staff's report. Ms. Cerniak.
Thank you, Chairman Frankson. This is a pretty straightforward petition. The request is for a variance for the open front porch to extend into the setback about a 1.5 feet. And then the entryway, as was just described by the petitioner, to encroach into the front yard setback 4 feet 4 inches. This is an improvement that really is aesthetic rather than functional. There is currently a covered front porch entry, so it's not a situation where there currently is no coverage. However, to add the front porch and make it usable, as was just mentioned, it really does need to be a certain width. So adding that extra approximately 1.5 feet to that porch really does make it a different type of a porch, really a living front porch. This is a case where the encroachment does not move toward a neighboring home. In the case of a side yard setback, it does slightly move toward the street. The hardship is the way the original house was sited on the lot, virtually right on that front yard setback line. Along this block of Beverly, there are homes that are set back varying distances. It's not a street where all the homes strictly conform to a particular setback. The fact that it's an open front porch is important in considering the variance, so there is a recommendation that a condition be put in place that the porch remain open and not be enclosed with windows or with screens in the future. If that were to be desired by the current homeowners or future homeowners, they would actually need to come back and request another variance. So this is being, if you choose to approve it, would be approved specifically as an open front porch with that open entryway. There is a condition that also speaks to landscaping. It may be appropriate to do just a little bit of softening just to make up for that further encroachment toward the street. I would be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Moving on to questions from the board to the petitioner's staff, and why don't we start, let's start from my left today and introduce our new board member, Kevin Lewis. And you can always pass and come back, too, if you're not ready.
I don't have any questions at this time.
I don't have any questions either.
No, no questions.
I have one question for Ms. Cerniak. I don't recall when I went out to Beverly Place. Are there other houses situated any other houses within a couple of blocks of this house where the setback, it goes beyond the 50-foot setback requirement? Or the house is with, 40, within the 40?
I don't know specifically, but I do know that in driving the block and in looking at an air photo, homes really do have a variety of distances from the street. There may be some other situations where the porch or a covered porch extends just a few feet into the setback, but I don't know specifically.
That's the only question I have.
Lloyd?
No, no questions.
I have one question. What are you planning on, what materials are you planning to use for the porch and for the walk up to the front door? What type of materials? Is it wood? Is it going to be concrete, stone?
It's actually going to be wood and probably...
Would you mind going back to the podium? Thank you.
Wood, as well as some type of composite material that they would, it's like fiberglass or something that looks like wood, to make it have, again, the character of a wood porch, but have the durability that comes with synthetic material.
And the approach to the front door, is that going to be wood or composite material as well, or would that be like concrete, like an extension of your sidewalk?
It would, the entryway would be the same material, so composite, but then the pathway would be just kind of I think we've got a brick kind of a pathway that would remain that way.
That's not changing from the way it is now, correct?
The change would be in just approaching the new entryway versus the one that we have right now, which is more recessed into the house.
Thanks.
Yep.
I had one question, as long as you're there. You said in the report here, you said you considered alternative options to not encroach that 4.5 foot. What was that like? I mean, what did that, if you could explain it, even if you don't have a picture, what did the architect suggest in that?
So his suggestion was you want the kind of living space you would most likely have to do without the railing.
Without what?
Without the railing.
Okay.
So that you would gain that in
Yeah.
more of the outdoor living space. And then the entryway would be much less prominent. He would still do a gable on it. And he actually proposed with it not extending as far, we had the option of using regular, asphalt tiles on the roof and have a better pitch on it. Whereas with our current proposal, he recommended that we go with a metal roof on the front because your pitch wouldn't be, as steep, and the metal would be a better option. So those were the biggest changes. There was nothing else that he would have changed.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. So we will now move on to public testimony on this matter, not to exceed 5 minutes per speaker. All right, that'll be short. No cross-examination. Any final questions from the board? All right. So why don't we go on to final comment, discussion. What does anybody think about this? I'll start this one off. When I read this, I mean, I initially thought, 4.5 feet, woo. Usually they come in here like a foot, or, I mean, it's a technicality. I don't know, anybody have any thoughts about that?
Well, the 4.5 feet is only in a 5 or 6 foot run. The balance of the porch is only 1 foot in violation of the setback. So I think it's a modest variance that's being requested. And I think architecturally, it's a beautiful design and enhances the property nicely and will look really good. So I will support the motion for a variance.
Yeah, I think if they tried to do it without the encroaching on the setbacks, it wouldn't be as aesthetically pleasing. And I think, I kind of understand where you're coming from with the architectural part, that I don't think you could make it look this good if you didn't encroach.
Kevin, you were going to say something?
No, I agree. I think it's a reasonable proposal, given what they're up against, and I think it does enhance the property, and I think that this is a case where it would seem that this would be a positive move for the property and the neighborhood, and I would be inclined to support this.
Well, it's unfortunate that the builder put this right on the lot line, right on the 40-foot setback. I'm assuming, since I didn't see anything else in the staff report, that zoning has not been changed since the house was constructed, so that's the way it was, and the contractor obviously did it knowing that. You wouldn't have to be before us if it weren't for that, unfortunately, but I do think that the design does improve the neighborhood, and I don't see, having been by there, I don't really see that the amount of encroachment is going to negatively affect the area. And in fact, just for the record, it appears as though we received a late correspondence which supports your proposed request for the variance from one of your neighbors, so I understand.
I actually agree. I'm just testing you. I'd rather give the 3 feet and have a really good looking plan. Like if it was something that was out of character, maybe we'd have had a problem. But it's a good looking house as it is, and it's going to be a great looking house. So I think it makes sense. So with that, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'd make a motion.
Go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead. I make a motion that to recommend to the city council that we approve the front yard setback variance for 996 Beverly Place, subject to the recommendations from the staff.
What do we want to call these? The three
About the
requirements for approval.
yeah.
Okay, that's the motion.
Yeah, I don't know if the 3 conditions have to be read into the record, or can we just refer to staff's report?
We can just mention them in staff's report, I think.
I'll second the motion by Jay.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations with your project. Now is the time for the opportunity for the public to address the Zoning Board of Appeals on matters not on the agenda. All right. Any additional things from staff? I guess, Kathy, will we have a meeting next month?
We do not have any agenda items filed, so if the chairman chooses to do so, you may officially cancel the August meeting.
The August meeting is canceled. Welcome to our new members, Luke Pickus and Kevin Lewis.
Thank you.
And enjoy your summer. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I think one of our new members should make that motion.
Yes.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Perfect. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Meeting adjourned.